I want to start with a teaching that is so counterintuitive, it might just change how you think about your spiritual life. It comes from one of the great sages, Rabbi Elazar of Modi'in, and what he says is, frankly, a bombshell.
Just let that sink in for a moment. You can have the Torah knowledge, you can be doing good deeds, you can have all the appearances of a righteous life, and still, you could forfeit your entire share in the world to come. We're not talking about some obvious terrible sin here. So the question just hangs in the air, doesn't it?
Yeah, how is that possible? How can a life that looks so good on the outside lead to spiritual ruin? Well, this is the mystery we're going to unpack. And to solve it, we first need to look at a related, but maybe a little gentler, warning about how we can lose this life long before we even start worrying about the next one. To start unraveling this, we're going to turn to another sage, a man who had a truly unique perspective on what matters in life. He saw generations come and go, and his wisdom wasn't from books, it was from experience. His name was Rabbi Dosa ben Harkinas. Now, the Talmud suggests he lived well over a century, maybe even past 130 years old. And when a man who has lived that long tells you what wastes a life, you listen. He's not talking theory. He is telling you what he has seen with his own eyes. Let's just hear those 4 things again. Morning sleep, midday wine, children's chatter, and assemblies of the ignorant. These things, he says, remove a person from the world. And that phrase is so startling, isn't it? He's not talking about the big, dramatic sins. He's pointing to something much quieter, much sneakier. Okay, so on the surface, these 4 things, they seem pretty straightforward, right? Almost kind of mundane. Let's just take a quick look at the simple interpretation first. So the simple reading is solid advice. Don't sleep through your morning prayers, don't get drunk in the middle of the day. Makes sense. But come on, a man who lived over a century, he wasn't just giving us a couple of life hacks. He was pointing to something much, much deeper. And this is where it gets really profound. Morning sleep isn't just about your alarm clock. It's a metaphor for the morning of your life, just drifting aimlessly through your youth, those years when your character is supposed to be forged. And midday wine? That's the intoxication of your career, of ambition, when you get so drunk on success that you completely lose sight of why you're even here. So you see, what Rabbi Dosa is describing is a kind of spiritual evaporation. It's not one big event that ruins you. It's the slow leakage of your life, the 1,000 tiny moments of distraction that add up. You don't get dramatically kicked out of the world. You just quietly fade away from it. Okay, now let's go back to Rabbi Elazar's much scarier warning. So if Rabbi Dosa was describing how to lose this world through a slow drift, Rabbi Elazar is about to explain how to lose the next world, even while you look like you're doing everything right. And here we are again, right back at that mind-bending paradox. This person has real Torah knowledge, they have a history of doing good things, and yet, there are 5 specific attitudes that can make it all count for nothing. So what are they? These are the 5, and at first glance, you might think, okay, yeah, these are bad, but are they really worse than something like theft? And that's the whole key. Their danger isn't in what they are, but in what they reveal about a person's deepest beliefs. And this brings us to the absolute key that unlocks this whole puzzle. It comes from a brilliant insight from the sage known as the Siftei Da'at. He draws this razor-sharp line between 2 totally different ways of failing. This right here explains everything. See, most sins are what we'd call sins of passion. You were weak, you were tempted, you got overwhelmed. Afterwards, your inner voice says, ugh, I stumbled, I messed up. But the 5 things Rabbi Elazar lists, those are sins of contempt. They don't come from weakness. They come from a cold, deliberate worldview. The inner voice isn't, I stumbled. It's, it isn't really sacred anyway. This is probably the most powerful way to think about it. The person is going through all the motions of a religious life. They're doing the steps, the choreography, but deep down in their heart, they're denying the reality of the dance itself. They see the temple, but they don't feel its holiness. They enjoy the holiday meal, but they have contempt for its sanctity. You see, nobody is overcome by an irresistible urge to misinterpret the Torah, right? These aren't I couldn't help it moments. They are choices. They are a coolly performed verdict that says, in my heart of hearts, I believe all this holy stuff is just the ordinary world playing dress-up. And that's not a statement about what you did. It's a statement about who you are. So, how do we pull these 2 ancient warnings together for our own lives?
Let's connect the dots and see how they speak directly to us, right here, right now. And this slide really puts it all together. On one side, you have Rabbi Dosa warning us about the threat of drift. That's how you lose this world, through a kind of unconscious escapism. But on the other side, you have Rabbi Elazar warning us about the threat of contempt, and that's how you lose the next world, through a conscious, deliberate rejection of the sacred. One is a life that leaks away, the other is a life whose meaning has been hollowed out. And Rabbi Dosa's warnings are, they're everywhere today. Morning sleep is that hour you spend scrolling on your phone instead of starting your day with intention. Midday wine is when your job becomes the only real thing in your life, and family and spirit are just hobbies. And children's chatter or assemblies of the ignorant, that's the endless feed, the group chats where personal growth is never ever on the agenda. So all of this, both of these powerful teachings, it all brings us down to one final, crucial question for ourselves. The antidote to both the slow drift and the settled contempt is actually the same simple thing. Pay attention. Wake up. The sages are essentially grabbing us by the shoulders and asking, hey, are you actually here? Are you present and sincere in your own life, or have you just checked out and left your body on autopilot? And that's the question I want to leave you with. In what areas of your life are you just performing the choreography while secretly denying the dance? Where has holiness become just a habit? Where has the sacred become just a beautiful but empty decoration? Answering that question, honestly, might just be the first step back into the world.